talking though about people feeling great discontent with what the state of this country, many of our viewers will have been appalled not just by seeing the publication of the report into the Grenfell fire this week, but also very distressed that years later there are still people living in unsafe buildings, many of whom might be watching this morning. Can you tell people who cannot right now sleep easy in their beds when they will have their homes made safe?
First, I accept it's my duty of this government and everybody in a position of responsibility to make sure they are safe in their home. We will accelerate the programme. I'm frustrated that it's going as slowly as it is to deal with the cladding. A lot of that is to find sort of true responsibility and to hold people to account for getting on with the job. The money is there, the intention is there. We need to move more quickly on it.
So by when will people who are watching this, who are living in blocks that are unsafe, will they be able to sleep easy in their beds without the fear of a cladding fire?
We're speeding up the process. I want to get this done as quickly as possible. Each block will be on a different timetable. I'm not able to give you an end date, but I can tell you I meant what I said when I responded to the report. I said this has to be a turning point. It does, and we need to speed that up and get on with it as quickly as possible.
Forgive me, Prime Minister, during the election campaign, you made great play of how ready you were, how much preparation you had done, how much you were going to walk in this building and get things done. And then today, you can't give us a date, a deadline, which is what people want to know. When will they be able to sleep easy in their beds? It is years since the Grenfell fire. It is years that you had in opposition. Everybody knew this was coming. You cannot be surprised by what this report has come out with. And this is about people who are, as of this moment, not safe in their own homes.
Let me acknowledge that this has taken far too long. 7 years. This is not unique. We've had no end of injustices that have taken very many years to come to any sort of outcome, and this is not the final outcome.
But you're in charge now. Why can't you give people a date?
And what comes with being in charge is responsibility. The responsibility to make sure this happens as soon as possible. The first thing that therefore needs to happen, and the Deputy Prime Minister is doing this, is going through the books, going through the buildings, identifying where work has been done, where work hasn't been done, who's responsible, and putting in a place to make sure that we can accelerate that as quickly as possible. That work is ongoing. You can't do that in opposition because you simply don't have access to the material, but we're on it, we're working at pace, and we will bring the same mindset to this as I brought to the disorder, which is get people around the table, make the ask of them, the requirement.
Well, with the disorder, you said you wanted everybody in court within a week. You know, you are the Prime Minister now. Some people would want you to hear you say, you know what, in a year, everybody will be safe. In 2 years, everybody will be safe. What's your ambition on this? Because for years, people, victims of Grenfell, their families, and people who are in unsafe blocks have heard politicians for years promise that they were going to speed it up, promise that they were going to accelerate it. It's exactly the kind of frustration that you yourself say you've heard and you understand. And yet here you are today, unable to give them a firm promise.
Well, I'm not going to give a false promise. I think there have been too many of those in the last 14 years where people have given numbers and dates which they've plucked from the sky, which are not meaningful. I'm not going to do that. I know that the work is going on to identify what blocks need work on, how we accelerate it. The money has been allocated. A lot of this now is identifying and pushing those who are really responsible to do this, to do the work that they are required to do. If we need more powers to do that, we'll pass those powers.
Would you like to see people in jail because of what happened at Grenfell?
The last thing I want to do is to prejudice any possible cases. Of course, I want the police to complete their investigations and we'll give them all the support that they need. And appropriate cases should go through to court. But the worst thing I could do, or anybody could do, for the families of the bereaved, the survivors, the community, the worst thing we could do is to say or do anything which would prejudice the outcome of any proceedings, including criminal proceedings.